Provide access to clean water. When Samuel Taylor Coleridge wrote, "Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink," he did not have the 21st century's global water situation in mind. But he wasn't far from correct about the present world's water situation. Today, the availability of water for drinking and other uses is a critical problem in many areas of the world. How serious is our water challenge? Nowadays, the lack of clean water causes more deaths than war. 1 out of every 6 people living today does not have adequate access to water, and more than double that number live in unhealthy environments because they lack the water they need for cleaning. In some countries, half the population does not have access to safe drinking water. As a result, people living in these countries have many health problems. Nearly 5,000 children globally die every day from diseases caused by the lack of clean water. If sufficient water for sanitation were available, these children would be saved. Is water really scarce? Earth is sometimes called the blue planet because it is covered by so much water. In fact, Earth does contain over 1 billion trillion liters of water. However, very little of that water is safe to drink. Over 97% of the water on Earth is salt water. Of the fresh water that remains, over 2/3 is locked away in ice caps and glaciers. Most of the rest is trapped in the soil or underground. But that amount is enough for now. Then why is the water crisis so severe? Because groundwater, mostly deposited in earlier times, is being exhausted far faster than it is being replaced. Moreover, it is not always located where it is needed. For example, Canada has far more water than its people need, while the Middle East, North Africa, and many other regions are always in want of water. Even within specific countries such as Brazil, some regions have more than enough fresh, unpolluted water, while other regions often suffer from droughts. And it is not just drinking water that is needed. Water for drinking and personal use is only a small portion of society's total water needs. Household water usually accounts for less than 5% of total water use. Most of the fresh water we use is for agriculture and industrial activities. In addition, water is also inevitably needed for ecological processes not directly related to human use. Overcoming the water crisis is one of the toughest human challenges of the early 21st century. So what solutions are out there? Today, we need more sophisticated and controlling water supply methods that not only meet our increased needs, but also prevent damage to the environment and ecosystems. One large-scale approach used in the US, China, India, and other countries has been to divert the flow of water from regions where it is plentiful to where it is scarce. Such diversion projects provide some short-term relief for cities, but they are not practical as widespread or long-term solutions and have ecologically damaging effects. Another problem is that diverting water to some people often means less for others, and this can become an explosive political issue potentially. Another approach that can be applied is desalination. Desalination is extracting the salt from seawater. Desalination is not a new idea and is already used in many regions, particularly in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia produces about 1/10 of the water produced by desalination in the world. Israel uses desalination technology to provide about 1/4 of its domestic water needs. More than 12,000 desalination plants are now in operation in the world. But desalination plants are expensive to build and require lots of energy to operate, which makes desalination suitable mainly for seaside cities in rich countries. It therefore has limited value for poor countries, where water supply problems are the most serious. If desalination is going to be a realistic source of fresh water, countries need either abundant, cheap energy or a way to make the process more efficient. A different technological approach is used for irrigation systems. Agricultural irrigation consumes enormous quantities of water. In developing countries, irrigation often exceeds 80% of total water use. One of the earliest and most widespread forms is flood irrigation. It involves pumping or diverting water to fields so that water flows along the ground among the crops. It is simple and cheap, but also inefficient and wasteful. Improved technologies such as drip irrigation can drip water directly onto plants. It can provide crops with water more efficiently and significantly reduce agricultural water demand. Already, some countries, such as Jordan, have dramatically reduced water use with drip technology. However, this is not a perfect solution because it does not provide enough water to cleanse the soil. Technologies are also being developed to improve recycling of wastewater so that it can be used for irrigation or industrial purposes. Hopefully, recycled water may someday even be returned to groundwater. However, very effective purification methods and thorough safeguards are necessary to ensure the safety of recycled water. Above are large-scale solutions for providing a huge amount of water. However, a small-scale process has also been used to improve water availability and safety. It is a small distillation unit, which is a particularly attractive approach in rural and low-income areas, where the lack of infrastructure makes it hard to distribute water efficiently and economically. Some current projects have produced inexpensive distillation units that can remove toxic elements from any water source. A unit smaller than a dishwasher can provide daily clean water for 100 people. Today, the Earth's population is 7 billion. By 2050, the global population is expected to rise to 9 billion. As a result, there have been significant calls for a change in the way the world is dealing with growing water shortages. Albert Einstein once described madness as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Traditional approaches to water use and conservation cannot solve the water crisis of the future. We must, as Einstein points out, do something different. The world's water problems can only be solved by better technologies and more imaginative innovations.